Hello everyone and welcome to Dnyanjyoti Education Pune. So we are starting with the Weeker series. Weeker, that is weekly current affairs for the competitive examinations. In this series of lecture, what we are going to do? We are going to cover some important articles from the newspaper that are very much significant from the competitive exams perspective. So here we are going to cover articles from the Hindu, Indian Express, and apart from this we are also going to pick some important articles from PIB. So in today's lecture, the first article is from the Hindu. This article talks about the trade surplus that India is facing. So it says that India has trade surplus with 151 nations and trade deficit with around 75 nations during the period of January-June 2024. So what we are going to do in this article, we are first going to study the context of the article. After that, we are going to study what exactly the article is talking about, which subject this article is related to. After that, we are going to cover the forward linkages and the backward linkages related to these articles. Now, let's start with the discussion of these articles. So, the context of this article is that the Global Trade Research Initiative GTRI has offered insight on the trade surplus and trade deficit of India with the other nations, and this is the context of our article. Now, firstly, we will understand the concepts of trade surplus and trade deficit. Then we are going to interlink these concepts with the dynamic part or the key findings that are provided by GTRI forum. Okay, so basically the economic concept of trade surplus is related to the export and import of a country, which is associated with the trade of one country having with the another country. So when a situation arises where one country is having more exports than the imports, that can be termed as a trade surplus. Generally, we understand that in international market, every country is having some kind of trade relations with the other countries. India can have trade relations with multiple countries. India export some products to countries such as it can be Sri Lanka, it can be Germany, it can be Russia, and at the same time India imports some kind of material from other countries like China, Russia, USA. So this kind of trade activities is continuously growing in between the countries. When we come to the trade surplus, it is such a situation where a kind of amount of export is more than the amount of imports in between any countries. If we consider, for example, India is having trade relations with USA. Now in this context, when India is exporting more goods to the USA and India is importing less goods from USA, at that time we can say that India is having trade surplus with the country USA. So in this way we can define these concepts, and it indicates that any country is earning more from the exports than the imports. So such kind of significance is shown from this trade surplus concept. So GTRA key findings provides us with the important kind of data that is related to the trade surplus. India in this period from January to June 2024, India has recorded trade surplus with around 151 countries, and that is a really huge number. So it means that India is exporting more goods and services to these 151 countries, and India is importing some less goods and services from these countries. So as per the data, the India's export is around 55.8% and the import is 16.5%. So we can easily understand the difference between the amount of export and import, which shows us that the trade between these countries is kind of trade surplus. So the largest trade surplus which is seen is in between India and USA, and after that India and Netherlands. So you have to remember that these two countries, USA and Netherlands, is topmost countries which are having trade surpluses with India. Moving forward towards the next concept that is notified from this article, it is trade deficit. Now the trade deficit concept is exactly in contrast to the trade surplus. When any country is exporting less amount of goods and services and importing more amount of goods and services from any other country, at that time you can understand that that particular country is facing trade deficit. Okay, so imports will be larger and exports will be lower. Such kind of situation can be termed as trade deficit. So this situation, this kind of services in economy shows that there is a concern, because such kind of mismatch between the amount of export and the amount of import leads to increase of debt concern, and it also shows that certain country is having more dependency on the other countries. Okay, and this is very much obvious, because if we understand by taking the example of trade between India and China, we can easily recall that India imports a lot of raw material kind of goods and services from China. Okay, we can see multiple Chinese product in Indian markets also. So when a huge amount of goods and services are imported from China, and in return very few amount of goods, Indian goods, are exported to China, so this shows that India is having a certain kind of trade dependency on the China. Even during the COVID times, the scenario is seen that when due to COVID restrictions, there was supply chain disruptions, and these supply chain disruptions has halted many production of many goods and services. So trade deficit is a cause of concern for the countries, because firstly it leads to the increased debt between the countries, and secondly it is a cause of concern because such kind of situation in economy shows that that particular country is heavily dependent on other countries in terms of getting the raw materials, getting the products, and getting the other services. So likewise we can define the concept of trade deficit, where the import is larger and in comparison the amount of export is slower or lower. So according to the GTRI report, that the data that is shown from this article, it shows that India is having trade deficit with around 75 countries in the world, which means that 75 countries is having more exports in India than the import of Indian goods. So as per the data, 44.2% of export has been carrying out, and in comparison to the export, the import from these 75 countries into India is 83.5%, which is again a larger amount. So when we consider the top 5 countries, the top countries which are having trade deficit with India are mainly, as we have taken the example, the first country is China. As we can know that many kind of raw material is being imported into India for several purposes. That's why China is on the topmost list where the India is having trade deficit. Next is Russia, and another rank is Iraq. Apart from this, if we consider the top 5 countries where India is having trade deficit, the countries are China, then the name comes of Russia, next is Iraq, Indonesia, and lastly the name comes of United Arab Emirates, that is UAE. Okay, so these are the top 5 countries with which India is having the trade deficits. So after covering the first article, let's move towards the second article, which talks about the conflict and the emergency situation which has arisen in the Balochistan region. So this article talks about the boiling issue that has caused a cause of concern there, and how this issue is related to India, what implications it can have on Indian scenario. So the context is that in recent times, the Balochistan region from Pakistan has experienced a troubled rise from several terrorist attacks, and due to this reason, the province of Balochistan is hardly hit, and it experiences a very much emergency situation in terms of socio-economic concern. So let us understand what exactly is the cause of concern of this issue. With respect to Balochistan, the broader idea is that the Balochistan Liberation Separatist Group. Okay, so this is a group, Balochistan Liberation Army. This is one of the important separatist group from Balochistan, which is continuously provoking the terrorist attacks, and recently it has been seen that there have been around 70 deaths due to the attack that has been carried out. Now the issue is that Balochistan, which is Pakistan's largest but very least developed province, is facing this serious issue, which has been neglected by the administration of Pakistan. At the same time, we can understand that there is certain kind of geopolitical significance of this province also. So basically here we have tried to understand what issue is going on in the Balochistan province, but what we have to do, we have to understand that why this Balochistan is facing a situation kind of insurgency. So insurgency in Balochistan is not new. It has been seen that from past many years there have been one or other kind of emergency situation, specifically which has arisen due to the violent attacks and the disruptions that have been caused by the separatist groups. Now, one important part behind this issue is that Balochistan region is mainly targeted for the exploitation of resources that are available there. Apart from this, the lack of development and lack of political representation of this province has left this province to the backward. It has deteriorated the progress and halted the development of the overall region. Apart from this, the BLA, that is Balochistan Liberation Army, is actively challenging the Pakistani state to get the independence and make this province a separate regions. So what we are going to do, we are not going to cover this issue from the political part of view, or we are going to see this in the technical view. Here we have to understand the dynamics and the implications of this issue, overall implications for the region and overall and specific implications for the Indian scenario. So when we talk about the dynamics and implications, the insurgency in Balochistan is having certain kind of ethnic dimension also, because BLA, that is Balochistan Liberation Army, is specifically targeting the Punjabi workers, which reflects the anti-Punjabi sentiments which are going deeper into the Balochi insurgents. So these Punjabi have been seen as a beneficiaries of certain kind of economic activities that was provided in Balochistan province by the state of Pakistan, and these BLA insurgents is against these opportunities provided to the Punjabis. That's why a deeper kind of agitation is emerged there, and they are trying to go against this ethnic value. Next aspect is in terms of historical context. When we come to the historical roots of this insurgency in Balochistan, there is certain kind of exploitation of Balochistan resources. As we discussed in previous slides, Balochistan is a province with very rich resources, natural resources, and Pakistan state is continuously trying to exploit these resources for their own benefits. But in return, the development of the region has been neglected from past long years. That's why many insurgents and many leaders that emerged in the province has targeting this kind of developmental neglection, and they are also providing this as a base of the conflict. Next aspect is related to the security and insurgency dynamics that has arisen into the Balochistan provinces. Now the insurgency is not only driven by the local grievances that we are recently talk about, the ethnic dimension. Again, the historical dimension is also there, where the exploitation of natural resources in Balochistan is the main target of the state government, which has been in return provided by the neglect of the development of the region. But the other factors related to this insurgency is that there is a broader interest of regional conflicts also, which shows the conflict between the Balochistan Liberation Army and Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, that is TTP. Now, with competitive exams point of view, we are not required to remember all this name and put this name as it is. But the point here is that we have to understand that when there is a certain kind of insurgency in a region which is very next to India, then the implications that are being going to cause on Indian scenario is important. And to understand what implications it can cause, it is very much required that we should understand the background reason of this issue. That's why we are going to cover this kind of aspect. Next important aspect related to the issue is CPEC, that is China-Pakistan Economic Cooperation or Corridor. So CPEC is a flagship project started by China, which aims to expand its kind of infrastructural activities, then strategic activities, gain the hold over the strategic resources that are available in the region, and China is trying to expand its economic hub through the project like CPEX. Now the issue is that certain kind of insurgents in Balochistan is against this CPEC, which is seen again as a symbol of exploitation, because China is trying to reap their own benefits through the implementation of project. Pakistan state is trying to get their own benefits and trying to satisfy their own interests, but the local grievances are always left unaddressed. No one is talking about their needs and requirements, and that's why the insurgents are getting violent and they are protesting against the development or the infrastructural projects like CPEC. So again, the Pakistani response with respect to this insurgency is facing dual challenges. The first challenge is Balochistan internal issue, right? And second important challenge that is Pakistan facing from last few years, we can say, is external accusations. So handling this dual challenge is very much difficult for Pakistan, and at the same time the militarist approach provided by Pakistan is again provoking the insurgent activities in the region. So these are some of the important dynamics that are associated with this Balochistan issue. Now, how this issue can have impact on Indian scenario? This part is very much important. Now, the first broader implication can be seen with terms of internal stability. As we have seen that Balochistan unrest is supposed to pose a threat to Pakistan's internal stability, and which in turn is a very much strategic concern for India, as the neighborhood country is going through the unrest or certain kind of instability. Then on the broader level, this is a cause of concern for India's strategic implications also. Second issue comes in terms of India-Pakistan relations. So lately it has been seen that Pakistan is accusing India for supporting the Baloch separatist groups and also the insurgents. And that's why the complications between India and Pakistan relations is growing simultaneously. But both countries are monitoring and trying to solve this issue, particularly the potential impact of the regional security and stability. That's why the impact of Balochistan insurgency can also be seen on the India-Pakistan relation, which are already in a strain from last few years. The next important aspect can be seen in terms of need of political solutions. So this we can also see as a way forward to this solution, to this article. Now, for a long-term stability, it is required that Pakistani state should come forward and address the root causes of the insurgency issues that are again and again approaching in Balochistan provinces. Again, the political representation and exploitation of natural resources, which has been seen in the province lately, should be addressed with a strategic approach, and the developmental aspect of Balochistan province should be put forward by all the stakeholders. So this article comprehensively provides us with the details of what Balochistan issue is there, how it can have a certain kind of implications on the Indian scenario also. Now, the next article is again from the Hindu newspaper. This article talks about the UNICEF. UNICEF recently has issued an emergency tender to secure Impox vaccines with Africa CDC and Gavi and WHO institutions. Now, we have to understand the context of this news. The context is that UNICEF, that is United Nations Children's Fund, this institution recently had issued an emergency. This institution aims to tender the vaccines with collaboration of Gavi Vaccine Alliance. Okay. After that, the CDC and World Health Organization, all these institutions are seek help to provide the emergency vaccines in the crisis hit countries. Wherever there is need, there is requirement of this Impox vaccines, the vaccines will be provided by this UNICEF to the children. Now, firstly, we have to understand what exactly is the Impox. Impox is a kind of disease which is caused by orthopox viruses, such kind of viruses which is related to the family of smallpox virus. Now, Mpox is first detected in the humans in around 1970, and at that time this disease is considered as an endemic to Central and West Asia. Now, when we come to the transmission of this disease, it is seen that this disease is a zoonotic disease, which means that such a kind of disease which can be transferred from animal to human beings. At the same time, this disease can also get transferred from humans via close contacts or some kind of respiratory droplets, or even by the contaminated material. Now, symptoms regarding to this disease can be seen in terms of fevers, rash, swollen limbs, nodes, and there can be certain kind of severe complications also which are associated with these diseases. Now comes the important part of vaccination. When we have seen that Mpox is a disease caused by orthopovirus which is detected in 1917 in Central and West Africa, we have also seen the symptoms and that this disease is a zoonotic disease. When we come to the vaccination part, it is seen that World Health Organization, that is WHO, is recommending small Mpox vaccines to the region in Nigeria, Democratic country of Congo, and other countries where it is seen that there is a outbreak of this disease of Mpox. So now the information that is provided from this article can be analyzed with certain kind of points. The first point is that there is an emergency tender of Mpox vaccines. So this point briefly shows that certain regions in Africa is facing a severe outbreak of Mpox diseases, which outbreak is causing a harm into the children. So that's why UNICEF had decided to provide vaccines, and for that purpose UNICEF has collaborated with certain institutions such as Gavi, CDC and World Health Organization, that is WHO. Next key point is that the potential supply of the vaccine. Now the manufacturers of this vaccine has been provided with the insight that depending on the production capacity, there can be up to 12 million doses which could be secured through by 2025 year. This means that there can be an agreement between the manufacturers who can provide these vaccines, and these vaccines will be made available to all the children of the region where this outbreak has been seen. Now the next key point is related to the conditional supply of agreement related to this Mpox vaccines only. So what does this mean? UNICEF has planning to provide the conditional supply agreements, to set up the conditional supply agreement with the vaccine manufacturers. When such kind of agreements are done with the manufacturers, these agreements are important because such agreements allow UNICEF to purchase and ship all those vaccines as soon as the manufacturing and all the necessary condition has been satisfied. So that's why conditional supply agreement is an important term associated with this article. What exactly conditional supply agreement does? Conditional supply agreement tries to give a free hand to the UNICEF, where UNICEF gets the required doses of the vaccine as soon as all the necessary conditions have been met, and after that these doses can be easily shipped to the required regions. So this is all about the conditional supply agreements. Now one important term that is associated with this article is the global public health emergency. Mpox has been declared as a global public health emergency by World Health Organization. It should be remembered that World Health Organization has the authority to declare any disease as global public health emergency. Okay, so this decision has been done due to the outbreak of Mpox in DRC region, that is Democratic Republic of Congo region, and the outbreak is spreading to the other countries also. Now it is important to notice here that lately the 150 cases of Mpox has been confirmed, which is a rising concern of spread of this disease to the other neighboring countries also. And to prevent this spread from one country to other neighboring country, UNICEF is trying to provide the required vaccination in advance. Now here comes another important term that we can took from this article. So this can be considered as our forward linkages. Forward linkages mean any such topic that is related to the article and it is important to cover with the articles. So forward linkages talks about the public health emergency of international concern, which we can refer to PHEIC. Now, as we discussed that any disease can be termed as public health emergency of international concern by World Health Organization, and World Health Organization can take this decision as per the authority provided to World Health Organization under International Health Regulations Act 2005, that is IHR 2005. This act authorizes World Health Organization to take the required steps and declare any disease as a public health emergency of international concern, which means that on international level this disease is spreading very widely and there is a severe certain kind of outbreak seen in a particular region, and there is a threat of spreading this disease to the other region also. Now there is certain kind of criteria associated with this public health emergency. Firstly, it should be a serious and unusual event which should have a potential to cause threat to the health of the human lives. That's why it can be considered as a public health emergency. Second important criteria is related to the cross-border implication, which means that the outbreak should impact not only one specific region but certain kind of regions, neighboring regions should also come under the threat for any disease to be introduced as a public health emergency of international concern. Next criteria is related to the international response needed. The disease which outbreak has been occurred and the disease which is posing a threat on the international level should have the potential to get the eye contact or to get the immediate global conditions or global response from different institutions. If such kind of situation arises, then we can say that who is having a specific criteria certification to provide that particular disease as a public health emergency of international concern. Okay, so this is the concept and the criteria associated with this concept. Just remember one thing here, that public health emergency of international concern is declared by World Health Organization. It is not declared by UNICEF. UNICEF just have tried to acquire the Mpox vaccine, but the public health emergency of international concern can be only declared by who? That is World Health Organization. Okay. Okay. So the next article is related to the Ayush Ministry's pull out over Rule 170 of the Drugs Act. Now in this article, we are going to study in detail what exactly is the meaning of Article 170, how this article is emerged in current affairs discussion, and how this article is important for our exam perspective. Firstly, we are going to cover the background. Now, with respect to the background, there is certain kind of parliamentary concern which shows that the 170 rule of Drugs Act has been causing certain kind of concerns with respect to the misleading claims, and it should be regulated by the stricter actions. Okay. Now, apart from that, there is licensing issue also, which shows that Ayush drug manufacturers like allopathic medicines and must obtain a certain licenses from drug controller. So these are two important aspects due to which the Rule 170 of Drugs Act has been came into the news. Now what exactly is Rule 70? Rule 70 was introduced into the Ayurvedic, Siddha and Unani medicines in India in 2018. Okay, so introduction of this rule was done in 2018, and this rule is introduced in the Ayush medicine in 2018. Now the objective of this rule is that it aims to control the misleading claims and misleading advertisement which can be done by certain kind of medicines, medical claims. Okay. And it ensures that Ayush should be products can be marked properly. So Article Rule 170 aims to claim the misleading advertisement and also certain kind of responses related to the Ayush products. Now this rules is important because it is related to the approval requirement. If any kind of medicine or drug manufacturer is required to provide that licenses should be certified and approved by the Rule 170. After that, the licensing authority can release the advertisement related to that product. Next is submission requirement. Now, manufacturer of particular medicines or medicines related to Ayush product should submit certain kind of details, rationale of the medicines and evidence of safety of that particular medicines. After that, the restrictions related to this rule provides that the lack of contact details of the manufacturer, there should be content obscene or vulgar content should not be included, claims should not be excising any kind of organs, and testimonials from celebrities or government officials should not be included in such kind of rules and regulations. So here we can understand that the Rule 70 of Drugs Act is related to the prohibition of certain kind of inappropriate claim that is provided by any kind of medical initiatives, and such kind of claims should not be put forward, and if there is any kind of such inappropriate claim, then that claim should be discarded immediately. Okay, so 170 Rule of Drugs Act is related to misclaiming of advertisement for different kind of Ayush products. So in this session we have covered some important articles from different perspective. We have tried to cover the articles ranging from different syllabus such as economics, science and technology, international relations also. Okay, now we are going to continue such kind of series in next lecture also. Thank you so much.